Good morning, this is Dawn, and welcome to our continuation of this video series, the Diamond Dimensions video series, where we are looking at 12 patterns of potential for the creation of a new society as we make this transition in the next 7 years, 2020 to 2027. And we're going to be talking about the patterns of potential that are gateways to our collective soul story, a reclamation of our collective soul. And we're going to be talking about this in terms of the lens of the 7 wonders of the soul, which have not been fully tapped whatsoever, especially on the collective level. Those are faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, and beauty. And in these 7 years, there is a theme for each of the years. And 2020 is about building the nest. It's about cultivating faith from the core and returning to a place of faith in life, trust, faith in one another, faith in purpose and meaning, and a way to move forward together and co-create systems and structures that are sustainable and that lead to a flourishing humanity. So our collective passage, you can see those 7 years and the themes. And this year, Building the Nest, it's all about our foundation. Key words for the year ahead in 2020 particularly, but I do want to say that these, while they are building upon one another, they are going to be happening simultaneously. And these are just connecting points. These are the primary themes of each year. And so the key word and the opportunity is for us to create a strong foundation, but one that is that looks to nature. And so this idea of the nest is so beautiful. Keywords are 3 keywords during 2020 in addition to foundation, and those are stability, strength, and steady progress. So in these 7 years of transformation, there are 7 gates of transformation, and this is the gate of foundations. Again, number 6 of the 12 dimensions of change is about building the nest, and it's our collective focus in 2020. So stability, strength, and steady progress. So 2020 is an invitation to the radical reclamation of faith, the first of 7 wonders of the soul. And this passage is about stepping into the radiant realization of who we are collectively through a strong foundation for society. True faith is freedom, and it leads to stability, strength, and steady progress. So the invitation of 2020 is to ask, how will we build our nest? How will we steady our ship, the ship of our own lives, our own relationships, and humanity? And particularly, how will we do that through the creation of new systems and structures that are life-giving? And how will we infuse life into existing structures and systems, should we choose to keep those? And then how will we create this new a foundation for a new society? So let's look at this C symbol just for a moment. One of the first things I noticed about this C symbol when I was drawing it, well, there were 2 things. One was the bird-like or angel-like forms on the exterior, the 4 walls that looks this very much like a house, but sort of a fun house, like it's got all these swirly little edges, and then the 4 nest symbols on the exterior. But in addition to the bird-like forms, the other thing I really noticed was this pinwheel shape in the middle. I used to love pinwheels when I was a little girl. As a matter of fact, when I started my company back in 1997, I named it Creative Revolutions, and at the very first I didn't want a logo, and so I created this little pinwheel symbol, which I kind of wish I had stuck with, but in any case, it was a symbol of the joy and the life that I wanted to infuse into what I was my offering to the world, and I wanted that to be my experience every day. And so this pinwheel, I really believe, is such a reminder of joy and fun. And so it's not just all serious about building our house and building a strong foundation. It is going to be serious, but let's remember the joy of it, and to add the life, and to allow the wind of spirit to move through the center of the home that we create within each system and structure and within society itself. So the other thing is, if you look at the C symbol, so that pinwheel, it looks, again, like it's bringing in the life of of spirit or from nature, and then distributing that throughout the 4 rooms of this house. And if you notice in the very center, what's holding these rooms together, the little doorways, create a little flower. And that space is very open. And I feel that that is purposeful, that at the center of these systems we will create, there is joy and there is life, and there's this star that is, is rotating and bringing new life all the time. And there are these common spaces. There's room to breathe at the center, in other words. And then there are these 4 rooms that are perhaps like 4 areas within a system or a structure, and that allow particular expressions of life and care and compassion and thriving to flourish within each of these rooms, that maybe have a specific function, or maybe a specific or a dedicated area for moving forward in a particular way. Each of these scene symbols is about meaning and movement and forward momentum. And how will we move forward together? How will we find a whole new way forward together? And that is dependent upon each one of us embracing a whole new you, a whole new me, and returning to wholeness so that we can work together collectively. The nest symbols on the exterior are, self-evident. And if you look at the outer lines, I mentioned this a minute ago, that are kind of very, very fluid and swirly and look very spirit-like, it's almost as if there is a protection around, between our nests and around this structure that is, to me, an invisible structure. It's visible here, and again, the ribbon-like forms, which are evident in many of these C symbols, and the lines, I consider them to be lines of creation or co-creation, and there's a sense that this is sort of like, it's not your traditional solid walls of a house, but rather there's a movement to it, and the protection actually comes from the divine, from life itself. And so I just would invite you to consider, what does that look like in the systems and structures that are meaningful to you and your particular area of expertise, and how can you remember always that there is life itself is supporting these systems and structures that we create, as so long as they are aligned with the spirit of life, that they are life-giving. And we talked about that in an earlier video. I'll talk more about that in the future as well. But so I really love this one when I look at it, because there is so much life in it, and so much, to me, that speaks to the ways we are fully supported, and then it speaks to faith and trust. And you don't have to believe in angels necessarily to see that here, because that can come in many ways. You have to have faith and trust in order to embrace joy, particularly, I think, within a societal effort. And you have to have some measure of faith to even build your nest. And by the way, I wanted to talk about this, but I would have gone off on a deep tangent. But do take a look at how nests are built by birds. It's just fascinating, isn't it, that they work together, and they gather these twigs and sticks, And it is one of the strongest structures in nature, in many ways. I mean, in terms of protecting the eggs and the baby birds. And so there is an idea here of allowing for space and room to grow and time for things to mature. And so it's not as if we can create these new systems and structures that will support us as we move forward in, the blink of an eye or the snap of a finger, and then, on day one we'll go. I think that's the mistake we've made in the past, is we have not allowed that spaciousness and that room for grace to be at work within the systems and structures that we offer. I want to invite you to take a look at the previous video I did about 2020 and the life shift that we need to make from fear to faith. Once again, in these 7 years, there's going to be 7 gates of transformation. And as we make this passage to a new society, and this gate is all about foundations. And so, this year, we're in this year, and here we are, with the opportunity, many of us, to at the very least, shift our focus a bit to things that are more immediate, and and some of us have some time to do things that we wouldn't necessarily have had the time for, and so an opportunity that we each have is to consider, one major sector of society or system, larger system, and then choose a particular focus within that, and where can we bring the fullness of who we are to those systems in a way this year and in the future that contributes to stability and strength and steady progress as we pass through this collective gate of foundations, a gate into a new society and a new era rich in love.